Well, good morning, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. Joel Harden here. Ici Joël Harden, député pour Ottawa Centre, the Member of Provincial Parliament for Ottawa Centre. So we are here this morning to react to really a non-announcement. We have not heard anything from the Ministry of Education of any seriousness about the plan for back to school, and parents are worried, students are worried, staff are worried. We need action. We need action from this government. We've spent a lot of time in the last number of weeks visiting parents who've been spontaneously holding rallies, checking in with staff who've been busting their gut to make our virtual learning system move forward. And all we've heard from the Ministry of Education is that those pandemic online learning platforms will be extended and boards have to pay for them. We haven't heard enough about what their actual plan is for back to school. So that's why we're holding this particular press conference. We feel it incumbent that the people of Ontario deserve clarity from the Government of Ontario, from the Ministry of Education, from Education Minister Stephen Lecce. What is the plan? Hope is not a plan. What is the plan to make sure that kids and staff can go back to school for in-person learning? We're agreed, but we need to make sure that's an intentional choice. I'm very, very proud to be joined by so many fantastic spokespersons for public education this morning. And the first I'd like to pass to is my good friend from Davenport, Member of Provincial Parliament, Marit Stiles. Over to you, my friend.
Thank you, Joel, and thank you so much as well for being such an incredible advocate for parents, for families, for students, and for education workers in the Ottawa region. I'm Marit Stiles. I'm the education critic for the NDP and the MPP for Davenport. I'm standing out front of Dewson Junior Public School, which is the school where my children went to school years ago. I still have one daughter who's in high school and the other is in university. I want to start by saying we've been waiting. Families across this province, students across this province have been waiting patiently for a year and a half for this government to get their act together. We have seen the longest school closures in Canada, here in Ontario, in every region of this province. Our students, our kids, our staff have paid an extraordinary price in terms of emotional well-being, mental well-being, and we are really done with this. A few weeks ago, I stood out front of a school in the Hamilton region with our leader, Andrea Horvath, and we said again, where is the plan? Getting our kids back to school should be this government's number one priority. Where the heck is the plan? We have been waiting so patiently. So what we're asking for, we've been very consistent in this for many months now, and throughout the last year and a half, is that this government take action and invest properly in the means to ensure that our schools can reopen safely. Right? That means proper ventilation in all our schools. I don't know where Stephen Lecce gets his 100% claim that schools have been properly ventilated, but I can tell you I haven't heard from one board in this province that says that's the case. We need our students to be safe in smaller class sizes. We saw the report yesterday from Sick Kids. We want Sick Kids and the science table. We want the government to be listening to the calls for continued efforts to properly distance, but mostly keep our classrooms smaller so that our kids get the support they need. Over the last year and a half, it's been an extraordinarily difficult year. We need this government to take children and youth seriously, their future seriously, and to put their well-being at the top of their priority list. It's not enough to play this wait and see game. In the next 6 weeks or so, most schools in this province will be getting started again. In fact, some schools, as I mentioned earlier, actually will be reopening in early August in this province, and certainly some in late August, and then at Labor Day. And school administrators, teachers, families deserve to know what the plan is going to be. So we're calling again today on Stephen Lecce, on Doug Ford, to please do the right thing. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Release the plan, and let's make sure our kids can get back to school in as normal a way as possible, without hybrid learning, without online classes in September. Thank you. And I'm going to hand this over now because we're very fortunate to be joined today by a parent also in the Ottawa region. Erica Braunovan is the parent of 2 school-age children. And she's going to share a little bit about how this waiting game has played out and what it's meant for families, for her family and for other families in the Ottawa region. Over to you, Erica.
Thanks, Marit, and thanks for having me here this morning. Yeah, I mean, it's just, we need to know if our kids are going to be in school in September, right? My 11-year-old needs to know that she's going to be able to learn with her peers in real life. The online learning isn't meeting her needs. She needs to be around other kids. She needs to be outside running, right? Like she needs to have other students that she can, in those moments where you're not in class, actually still be interacting with her peers, and that not be happening on a computer, because she also can't sit and stare at a computer for 6.5 hours a day, right? She needs those breaks from the screen. But I watch her and she goes off the screen and she just sort of flops down on the couch, and that's kind of it, right? Like there's not a whole lot of anything else going on in her life right now. And that's, you know, at 11 and 14, my children really do need to be around their peers, and so we want them safely in school. We want the schools ventilated. We need them to be distanced, so they need to have small class sizes. I would also, I mean, I love my children. I have been enjoying all of the additional time with them every day. But I wouldn't mind going to my office every now and then, and being able to interact with my colleagues in those less formal ways of having a coffee break with somebody. So I think for the entire family, we probably know each other better than I knew my parents when I was their age, because we've had so much more time with each other. Certainly, my children's classrooms have heard my cursing when my standing desk toppled in the middle of a meeting. So I think the whole class got to know me a little bit more that day. But it would be nice to have a bit of space from each other, and to know that we're all going to be around other people.
Thank you, Erica. That was brilliant. As a parent, this what you say resonates. There's been a lot of cursing, sadly, happening in broadcasting through our public schools through no fault of parents. It's a real honor to also pass the mic over to my friend Chandra Pasma, who is running as a candidate in the riding just to the west of us here in Ottawa Centre, in Ottawa West-Nepean. Chandra, you're a parent. You've lived through this pandemic. What would you like to offer to our conversation this morning? And thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Joel. And thank you so much, Erica, for sharing your experience. I can really relate as a parent of 3 kids who are all under 12, have been out of classrooms for 16 months, have been through the gamut with us of online learning, working from home, trying to meld childcare and school and work all together, the good times and the occasional times where profane language is used and they learned lessons I never expected them to learn in a global pandemic. But I also know my kids really need to be back in the classroom. They need that structure and they need that social time. And like many kids, they also need some additional support. It's been so long since they had a regular classroom schedule. It's going to take some time for them to adjust, and they're going to need a lot of support as they go back. And I'm hearing that same thing from lots of parents in my neighborhood and in Ottawa West-Nepean. Parents are so anxious for their kids to go back, but to go back safely and with the supports that they need. We need Doug Ford to stop trying to save money on the backs of our kids who have already paid such a high price for this pandemic. Instead, we need the government to upgrade ventilation, to cap classroom sizes, to keep them to a safe cohort size, to proactively offer the COVID vaccine to every teacher, to every education worker, and to every student over the age of 12. We need the government to actually provide an adequate number of paid sick days and stop the bureaucratic mess that people have to wade through in order to access those sick days. We need the government to put in place the extra mental health supports and the special needs supports that kids are going to need as they integrate back into full-time learning in the classroom, to make sure that every kid is ready to succeed. There's really not much time left before school starts, whether kids are going back in September or going back already in August, as Marit said. So the NDP stands with parents now in urging the government to get to work now to make sure kids can go back safely. So thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we'd be happy to take any questions from the